Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech idea. Today we are taking a look at Ardbert, Warrior of Darkness. It is a 3 mana 2/2 with 2 powerful triggered abilities. Because whenever you cast a white spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control, they gain Vigilance until end of turn. And whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control, they gain Menace until end of turn. Ardbert is a great commander that focuses Orzhov Legends, and luckily, due to his wording, if we cast an Orzhov colored spell that is a white and a black spell, we will get both of his triggered abilities. This results in him being a great Anthem commander, and also adding Menace and Vigilance to all of those creatures until end of turn will make them powerful attackers. This is why I've filled this deck with a bunch of Orzhov spells, and in addition to that a bunch of Orzhov Legends, simply to make sure that we always trigger Ardbert in our turn, and at some point swing for the win. This is why we play legends like Commissar Severina Rain, a 3 mana 2/2, and whenever she attacks, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of other attacking creatures, which is exactly what we want to do in this deck. Due to the fact that we are in Orzhov colors, she also has an activated ability for 2 mana, and sacrificing another creature, we gain 2 life and draw a card. Card draw is really important in this deck, simply because Orzhov colors has a slight problem with that, and being able to sacrifice a creature at instant speed also works in our favor. We play Phyrexia, Fang of Silverquill, a 4 mana 3/2 with flying and mentor, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it. Phyrexia is a great protection against Boardwipes, at least in a way that we recover with a few more creatures, and due to the fact that we will be putting a bunch of counters on our creatures, she will create a huge army of Inklings. We play Liesa, Forgotten Archangel, a 5 mana 4/5 with flying and lifelink, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. She also has a replacement effect, because if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. As a great recursion tool, we play Carmen, Cruel Skymarsher, a 5 mana 2/2 with flying, and whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen and you gain 1 life. Furthermore, whenever she attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from her graveyard to the battlefield. Another legend that we want to accumulate counters on and then maybe sacrifice at some point is Elenda the Duskrose, a 4 mana 1/1 with lifelink, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda. Then, when she dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Elenda's power. Another way how we can sacrifice our creatures is with Colonel Autumn, a 3 mana 2/3 with lifelink, exploit. Other legendary creatures you control have exploit, and whenever a creature you control exploits a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This gives us the ability to always sacrifice creatures as soon as another legend enters, to anthem up our team even more, and maybe also get a few powerful death triggers from some other legends. When it comes to our interaction package, I have also added a bunch of dual colored spells, simply to make sure to always get both Ardbert triggers. So as a removal spell, we play Unmake, a 3 mana instant, and you exile target creature. We also play Dire Tactics, a 2 mana instant, exile target creature, and if you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. Another great instant speed interaction spell is Kaya's Guile, a 3 mana instant, and choose 2. Each opponent sacrifices a creature, you exile all cards from each opponent's graveyard, you create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying, or you gain 4 life, and if you pay the Entwine cost of 3 mana, you get all of those effects. We play Phyrexia, a 2 mana instant, you destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. We go with Vanishing Verse, a 2 mana instant, exile target mono-colored permanent. And also one of the best removal spells in Orzhov colors is Anguished Unmaking, a 3 mana instant, exile target non-land permanent, and you lose 3 life. When it comes to supports from artifacts and enchantments, we play Hero's Podium, a 5 mana legendary artifact, and each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. It also has some inbuilt card advantage, because for X and tapping it, you look at the top X cards of your library and you may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand, and you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. For powerful protection and more Anthem, we play Flowering of the White Tree, a 2 mana legendary enchantment, and legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have Ward 1, and your non-legendary creatures get +1/+1 one. A really cool dual colored spell is Baron Step Siege in this deck, a 4 mana enchantment, and as it enters, choose Abzan or Mardu. If you choose Abzan, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control at the beginning of your end step. And if you decide for Mardu, you will get the following trigger. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice, which is definitely possible to enable for us. Due to the fact that we have a huge synergy with +1/+1 counters and legends, we place some Boardwipes that work in an asymmetrical way. For example, Urza's Ruinous Blast, a 5 mana legendary sorcery, and you exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. If you have a few enchantments, mana rocks or whatsoever on the battlefield, you can also play Damning Verdict, a 5 mana sorcery, destroy all creatures with no counters on them. You want to win more? You get it. The only non-legendary creature in this deck is Deathbringer Leech, a 5 mana 3/4, and other white creatures you control get +1/+1, other black creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever you cast a white spell, you may tap target creature. And whenever you cast a black spell, you may destroy target creature if it's tapped. This creature fits perfectly into this deck even though it's a non-legend, because you give your creatures even more Anthem, and due to the fact that you cast a bunch of dual colored spells, you will get both of its triggers. Keep in mind that those triggers happen at the same time and both of them need a target, which means that you cannot use the white trigger to tap a creature down and also announce the black trigger to destroy just that creature. Still, this creature is powerful enough, which is definitely why I added it to this deck. Then we play Excalibur, Sword of Eden, a 12 mana legendary artifact equipment, and this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of historic permanents you control. Then equipped creature gets +10/+0 and has Vigilance. You can only equip legendary creatures with this card for 2 mana. Due to the fact that we play a Legends deck, this spell can cost up to 0 mana in this deck. And as soon as we have cast a black spell, our legends will have Menace, and with all of those +1/+1 counters and Excalibur on Ardbert, you might be able to kick a player out with just 1 hit. Last but not least, we play Relic of Legends, a 3 mana artifact, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. It also has another mana ability, and you tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. Due to the fact that Ardbert's first triggered ability gives all of our creatures Vigilance, we can attack with our full force, and in our second main phase we can still use our legends to generate even more mana. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Ardbert, Warrior of Darkness. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next. Make sure to check out my full deck list in the notes below, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.